protection, and I'll ask Ipe Suruga, who's the Social Protection Programs Manager from the ILO in Indonesia, to take the podium, please. Ipe, please.
Thank you. Good morning. I hope you're still awake. I don't have an engineer degree, so I hope I can provide a different perspective from what we discussed today and yesterday. And my name is Ipe Tsuruga, Social Protection Program Manager based in the ILO Jakarta office, International Labour Organizations. So we all work on really ground and talk to workers and employers and the government representatives to improve social protection system there. Indonesia has a national strategy to accelerate the early retirement of coal-fired power plants so that they can achieve the net zero emission by 2060. So it may involve the closure of coal-fired power plants and the closure of the mining industries, possibly. That will definitely create a lot of job losses, dismissals, and employment terminations on ground. So we focus on that as an ILO. And we talk a lot about the job creation side, creating new jobs by investing in the renewable energy sectors. We have been discussing that. So I'm trying to give you some perspectives how the social protection could potentially play the role to facilitate the just transition from one job to the others for workers. That's my 10 minutes talk. A country with unemployment cash benefit, social security benefit scheme tend to have a single window services. That means 3-in-1 service. 3-in-1 public services. Once unemployed workers are dismissed by the closing industries, they need to go to the public employment service offices to register their unemployment status so that they can file a claim to receive partial and a temporary cash benefit to replace their income for up to usually 3 to 6 months. And the partial income will be provided at the rate of 45 to 60% referred to their previous wage. So this is the unemployment benefits. The role of public employment service offices is then to provide job matching services, ask employers, the other employers, do you have any vacancies? And then give the jobs to the others, the unemployed workers here, job matching services. Providing job fair opportunities and then providing a CV and interview practices and many other supports, public supports to facilitate the transition from one to the other jobs. If workers are found difficulty finding a job, they may be offered to participate in reskilling and upskilling opportunities in the public vocational service centers for free, with a possible allowances, transport DSA, to participate in such courses. Indonesia established unemployment benefit scheme in 2021. We supported them. And they established with their own fund a single window services, physical office called Siap Kerja, ready to work. That's the English translation. And as you see, they have beautiful office. Workers need to go there to claim benefits and then receive public employment services. They provide job fairs as well. The model also can be found in Korea. Employment Welfare Plus Center, they call it in that way. 3-in-1 services. They have 174 offices nationwide with 5,000 staff members, including job counselors, to support unemployed workers. And their capacity is to make a job placement up to 1.5 million every year. Japan, this is, they call such an office Hello Work, a more positive way. And they have 500 44 offices nationwide with 26,000 officers and job counselors, professional job counselors, to facilitate such a transition. And then they have a capacity to place 1.9 million jobs per year. So they make, these one-stop shop services has a significant role to play in such a any kind of transition, not only just energy transition, but any kind. We also need to remember that this is not the first time for the world history to experience transition, energy transition. All countries experienced the energy transition from coal to oil in 1960s, 1970s, and Japan was not the exception. Japan also experienced a lot of coal mines closure, and a lot of workers dismissed. One of the latest cases in Japan, I found it interesting. 1,500 workers are dismissed by the closure of one coal mine in 1997, and 1,300 workers there registered as job seekers, and 700 workers participated in public vocational training. And eventually, 80% of them found a job within 4 years. I will come back to the remaining 20% later. What did the social protection and the public employment service offices did for them? Unemployment benefits were provided through the social protection mechanism between 50 to 80% of their previous earnings up to 3 years. Originally 1 year, but the government tapped additional tax fund money to extend to 3 years. But the first 1 year was covered by employer and employees' contribution to the regular unemployment insurance program. To give workers incentive to find a job, they provided re-employment allowance. If they find a job earlier than 3 years, they could get a lump sum up to 6 months, depending on complex formula, as an incentive. And vocational training, the duration of vocational training was generally between 10 days to 1 year, depending on different certificate programs. And of course, the free of charge is public services, and allowance are provided as well. And these were financed by, again, the contributory fund shared between workers and employers, financed by them. The remaining 20% of job seekers, by the way, this is the data obtained from the Public Employment Service administrative data, not sampling data. As you see, most of younger workers found jobs within 4 years. But workers above age 55 tend not to get a job or couldn't get a job. You can imagine employers don't want to employ old people. Anywhere in the world, unfortunately, in the blue-collared world, whenever we talk to Indonesian trade unions, employers, they say that. So it's really difficult for them to find a job. That's one element. The other element is that they could access to pension programs because they reached the pension age. So I've talked about 2 social protection schemes now, unemployment benefit and pensions, and then there is some linkage. If they cannot find a job, they reach the pension age, they can still get a pension, some incomes from pension scheme. Let me think about South Asia. I'm not in charge of South Asia, just for your information, but let me show the figures. The graph shows the proportion of unemployed workers receiving benefits to the number of unemployed persons. As you see, we only have India in this chart. And the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia recently established a new unemployment benefit scheme, so they will catch up soon. This is the data back in 2020, and the ILO is updating this this year. So in 3 months' time, you will get the new data. But I think in South Asia, we will still have India only, because in this region, unemployment benefits haven't been established. So what can a country do without unemployment social protection? That is really difficult to answer. In reality, usually the labor law requires employers to provide severance pay, termination benefit, or redundancy pay when they dismiss workers. But the problem is that there is no linkage with such a benefit allowance provision and the public employment services and the vocational training services. And usually without unemployment benefits, workers don't go to public employment service offices because they don't have to go. They go because they want money. And what happens with the capacity of public employment service offices? Usually, in a country where unemployment benefits are not provided, public employment services are really small. They don't have a capacities. The government doesn't have an incentive to allocate more budget to that office because no one comes. So usually 1 or 2 persons per province deal with all these services. But as I presented, Japan, Korea, Indonesia deploy a lot of personnel there to assist workers finding a job. Very last slide. My key message here. In my view, the energy sector could drive the improvement in social protection. Why? Because it's emerging global phenomenon. Money is there. People who create the jobs usually have money, budget. But people who lose jobs, like us, we are trying to work on that. But people who lose jobs really don't have a budget. So, for example, 1% of 100 million mega solar power plant project could be allocated for social protection. For example, to provide a technical assistance, and workers and employers could be convinced, we could facilitate, and then if they agree on, they will be the one who contribute to the unemployment benefit fund, not the government. So we don't have to only talk about tax-funded subsidy schemes when it comes to facilitating the transition from one job to the others, but rather to create the mechanism to benefit not only those who are affected by one single closure of the power plant, but also to other workers that can be covered by the mainstream social protection system if the energy sectors could drive such a discussions, and then ILO is always happy to facilitate such a dialogue. I think I'll stop here. I didn't talk about employment injury insurance, but that's another important element. Many workers who used to work in a coal mines couldn't get new jobs because they cannot pass the medical clearance, and employment injury benefits should provide benefit if it's related to employment-related diseases. Thank you very much, and I hope it's useful. Thank you.
So I think there was a clear call to action there from IPE, a call to action to the energy sector to drive social protection opportunities in your country. Follows on, I think, from the broader call to action that was in Professor Ivan's presentation this morning. I was pleased to see that IPE flagged relocation benefits as part of his presentation, because I think that is what links Professor Ivan's local impacts of unemployment with then Alex's broader view of job creation that's probably not in the local area where the retrenchments are happening. So we're going to